What's going on, everyone? Kelly Cavallari here, one half 7 Era Media, and welcome to today's edition of the Honky Tonk Highway, episode 37. We've almost hit 40, guys. Thank you, everyone out there, for joining me so far on this crazy adventure. If you haven't yet, like us, follow us, subscribe to us, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. That way you don't miss anything we do. We are currently live on both Facebook and YouTube for everyone who wants to watch wherever they want to go. Today's guest really needs no introduction if you're from Florida. He's one of the DJs and the general manager at one of the number one country bars in all of South Florida, the Roundup in Davie. But what many people don't know, he's a former line dance competitor in the UCWDC and a former event DJ. Ladies and gentlemen, good friend of mine, please welcome Mr. John Lindsay. What's going on, John?
Dun, 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 dun. How are you, brother?
Doing good, bro. How you been?
Oh, it's episode 37.
Episode 37. We made it. We've gone this far.
Jesus.
I know. Tell me about it. So, for those who don't know you out there, which might be quite a few that have never come visit you down in South Florida or were from Boston, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into line dancing.
Well, I'm originally from Boston.
I won't hold that against you.
Which is a little south of Boston. Got into first radio when I was in high school. And then DJing, parties, discos, whatever it took. I actually paid for my trip to Ireland when I was in high school by DJing the dances to raise money for it. And then I was in radio until 1996. In 1993, because I was doing radio, I was asked to do a country night at a bar called Vincent's just south of Boston. And that's how it started. That was my first, I can't call it a country bar because it's actually it's a multi-day club. But it was more of a disco. But we did a country night, and we turned that into a big thing. And from there, I wound up getting nights at a place called Puffer Bellies in Hyannis down on the Cape. And I went to Diamond Jack's, and I did some other work at some of the other clubs around. And then through my connections with the club, I got onto a dance team called Shut Up and Dance back in probably 95, 96. Actually, no, it was probably 94 because they were competing in 90, 95. So in 94, I got on to Shut Up and Dance. And then from there, when I started working at Diamond Jack's, I got into line dance individual competing. And then I branched into couples competing, and I did a couple of swing competitions. And I did that for a while. And then, in 2003, I moved to Florida, showed up at the Roundup. It was after I did my last competition. Worlds 2003 was the last line dance competition I did. Oof. And then when I got to Florida, I was offered a spot at the Roundup DJing. And then about 6 months later, I was asked about potentially managing. And a little bit after that, I became full-time manager and a DJ, and I've been there ever since.
Ugh. That's a long time ago.
I'm old. It happens. You get old. I'm that guy who walk outside everywhere and go, "You kids, get off my lawn!"
In the Boston accent. There you go. There you go.
Absolutely.
Obviously your bar is not open right now.
No, unfortunately.
For those who aren't watching, though, he's been doing the virtual Roundup lessons and stuff on Facebook and YouTube and all sorts of other places.
We took the bar to you. We couldn't bring you to the bar, so we decided it was a best thing. You see the dance instructors all over the world doing it online. I saw wrestling done without a crowd just for TV. So very early on, I was like, well, this is what we need to do. The first thing we were going to do lessons online. And then it was like, why can't we just dance for a couple hours online and just play the music? And that's worked. And it's progressively over the last 3 months, every week we add something different. We learn more about how to do it, why to do it. And it is what it is. It's grown into its own little thing.
Now you just need to figure out how to deliver the beer to everybody.
This is true.
Texas does it.
they don't have an app yet where I can send beer to people watching in North Carolina or California.
You just can't call down to the bar. Yo, the guy at the bar right now, give him a beer. So, I've actually had a couple questions come in for you. So, the first one is actually from me. What is the favorite dance you ever choreographed? And before you say I didn't choreograph, I actually went and looked on Copper Knob and did some research.
Oh, stop it. I did a few. I co-choreographed a couple with my buddy Bobby Horn, Bobby from Newport, and Mike Raposa, two guys from the dance team that I mentioned. Bobby was the line dance instructor at the club where I started at Vincent's, and we sort of were tied to the hip for most of my run in Boston, because without one of us, it wasn't the same. You know, they basically taught me how to line dance DJ, and I basically took music and changed it and did whatever I needed to do, change the song to make the dance better. However, we just worked. We had a chemistry that really worked well. And my favorite dance I choreographed, the easy one would be the one I did with Jerry Seeby called J2K, where we were actually, the story behind that is we were watching. We were at Diamond Jack's. I was there DJing for, I want to say it was a cha-cha workshop that Sam and Denise Miller were putting on.
Oh, wow.
And Jerry was there, and I was in the DJ booth, and I had headphones on, and I was literally choreographing in the little Diamond Jack's DJ booth to this song. I had about 16 counts. I had taken 8 counts or a couple of trick steps that I saw the team from Florida do. They had this Applejack, traveling backwards Applejack thing that they were doing. So I took that and based a whole bunch of stuff around it, and I went, Jerry, I don't have an ending. I need like 8 counts at the end. And he walked up and we finished it in the DJ booth. It turned out to be one of the best cha-cha classes I ever took, even though I didn't learn any cha-cha.
That's awesome.
The easy favorite, the one that I really liked was called Not in Sync. I think that was the name. I did a dance to Dance and Shout by Shaggy.
Yep, that was it. You just named 2 out of the 3 I found on Copper Knob. Not
in Sync. I remember I watched an episode a couple days ago, the one with JP and Fred and Shane, I think it was, talking about how many dances came out and how we do this. And you mentioned how you're sitting competing in a choreography contest. You've got your song, you're ready to go, and it plays 3 times before you. That exact thing happened at the marathon with Not in Sync. And I was 11. So I sat there with my dance and I watched 3 other competitors and then Brian Barakauskas all do dances to that same song. So by the time I went out and competed it, I was just like, yeah, no, this isn't going to work. I like mine, but his is better.
Nice.
So, favorite one, but it's just one of those deals.
Yep.
Can't pick your song.
Big Jim says, if it's not too much, can you share your story about the station fire?
My story about the station fire. Oof. The night of the station fire. How do I get the accurate backstory? The most accurate backstory I have, there was a lapse in my car insurance. And in the state of Massachusetts, your registration is revoked if you don't have insurance. Right. So you went to a flag list. So the short version of the story is I left work, went to my house, which was in downtown Mansfield, about a mile from Foxborough Stadium, for those of you who aren't familiar with Mansfield. Changed, showered, got ready, and left my house and got to the stoplight in downtown Mansfield and was pulled over on my way to the station that night to see Great White, because they were one of my favorite bands. The officer was very nice, pointed out that my insurance had lapsed. We drove my car back to my house. He was nice enough to let me do that. He took the plates off my car, and I wound up with a $350 ticket and sitting at home, pouting, whining, and just sitting in my apartment until 11 o'clock when I noticed, the news breaking and all the video and obviously the fire and the tragedy that came out of that. I would have met probably 10 or 15 friends there, some of whom did not make it out. I know, given where I think I would have been standing, given the people I knew, I would not have made it out. I would have been not good. It would not have been a good night. So I have a $350 You Saved My Life ticket that I framed. Actually, I still have it.
About to say, best $350 ticket of your life.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Absolutely. One of those wasn't that day, I guess.
Trish wants to know, do you plan on going and seeing Brady play for Tampa?
I might. Every time I saw him down here, it was a disaster. I think the Patriots won one game I went to his entire run in New England.
They never played good in Miami.
They don't play good in Florida.
But the good thing for your bar, your beer sales will probably go up now because the Dolphins will probably have a better chance at winning.
I think the Dolphins will have a stronger team. I think the Patriots will still be good, but we'll see. I like Brian Flores. He's a great coach. They got one of my favorite Patriot players down here in Miami now, Kyle Van Noy.
I'll say we got Van Noy.
They got Tua.
They did.
They're looking good for Miami if they stay the course.
I did say, being from Miami originally and being a diehard Fins fan, I told Kelly, I go, if we do not draft a quarterback with a number 5 pick, even though we re-sign Ryan Fitzpatrick, I go, I'm becoming a Cleveland Browns fan. I am going to go out and buy a Baker Mayfield jersey. She goes, why? I go, at least when the Browns suck, we draft a good guy in the first round. Mm-hmm. They just don't usually know how to use them. So
if they just keep with the system and let it work, I think Brian Flores is the right guy.
I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you on that. All right, I had some more questions come in. Let me pull them up here. Where'd it go? Dean Hooks asked, can you explain the pros and cons on having line dance lesson once a week versus having them every night in a club, the night the club is open, kind of like what the Barn and White Buffalo do?
So they have lessons one night a week, whereas we have lessons every night. We're open, depending on
that. He might have been mistaken there because that's what he asked. He's asking what your opinion would be if someone did that. I don't know.
Speaking, we only have lessons one night. I don't know of any club that doesn't have some type of lesson every night they're open. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but I know we have lessons Wednesday through Sunday. We have 3 or 4 different line dance instructors. We have 3 or 4 sets of couples instructors. So we teach 2-step, East Coast, West Coast, things that you're not seeing in the virtual part of it because it's hard to do social distancing
with 2 of you. No, I totally get it. Totally get that. The
great thing about it is, I think the trick is to change the lessons. Like we have Nacho and Laura, 2 diametrically opposite instructors. Laura teaches a lot of country. She teaches a lot of dance. She teaches the dances she likes. Nacho teaches a lot less country. There's a little more Latin flavor, a little more high energy flavor. So you have 2 different groups. You're trying to serve 2 different groups. And then we have other instructors that come in that bring stuff from outside. Right. Don Demara has taught several times. We have Donna has taught several times. They bring in completely different stuff. And then we have Wes, who comes in and brings a lot of the event dances to the early crowd. So it's variety, the spice of life, my friend.
I also know you had someone who's watching, Rona Kay, come in and teach. She's always down there.
Rona comes in probably every 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
And brings something new from the circuit, some cool new dance that she's got. going on. So we try to infuse a little bit of everything. Keep everybody moving. You're going to have dancers that want to continue to learn new stuff and continue to grow and continue to be dancers. And then you're going to have people that just want to come in, dance the 5 or 6 dances they know, have a good time, and go home. So you try to, got to please everybody. We'll do the best. So you try to keep growing, but still you don't want the person who comes in and does 5 or 6 dances to leave for 2 weeks and come back and their 5 or 6 dances are completely gone.
So true. So true. How do you think it's going to be once you open back up?
We've actually been joking about this. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of reviews. There's going to be a lot of going over what was taught in the month probably beforehand, or weeding out the best stuff from what was taught there and then moving forward. The one thing during our virtual broadcasts, what's happened outside of the Roundup is a group of diehards have started having parking lot parties in the parking lot, playing what we're doing outside, and dancing outside so that they don't forget all the dances.
Yeah, I've seen a couple people broadcast those.
Which is kind of cool. It's nothing. We were inside one night. We opened the door, and there were 35 people outside in the parking lot line dancing to what we were doing.
There you go.
So I think a lot of people are trying to do that. People are trying to keep up at home. But I think when we open back up, I think you're going to see lessons that are going to be a lot of, we really like this one when we stop. We can't remember how to do it. So there'll be a lot of reviews, I would think.
How do you think the attendance is going to be once you open up?
That's tough. I think gangbusters the first couple of weeks. I think everybody is, you see it now, even out. Everybody is so tired
of being inside.
They so need to get out that people we're defying. People are just getting out. Oh, we can go out. They're gone. I know the day they opened the beaches in Naples.
Oh, yeah.
I drove to Naples. They closed the beaches the next couple of days, but I think everybody did that. Everybody went,
yeah.
Okay, you can go out now. People got in their car. They went and did something.
Yep.
They have to get out. And I think that will happen like gangbusters the first few weeks. And then the reality of it is there's a percentage of people that have been out of work for 3 months.
Yeah, I said to Jen, I go, that first event that happens, I think is going to be slam packed. Then it's going to die down, I think, for the next 3 or 4 months before everyone tries to make money again.
Budgets are going to be stretched to the point where they're going to be, yeah, we're out.
Yep.
Okay, now how do we plan this to do this? Because I think people are selective about what they can do and when they can go out. Because, hopefully people bounce back quick, but this hurt a lot of people.
Oh yeah, extremely hurt. Let's see. Dean had another question. Why is it so important to train and promote the next generation of instructors / DJs, and whose responsibility should that be? I know you guys have had the same. You don't really switch up and get new blood in there that much, do you?
It's hard. In our case, and I think in a lot of cases, I said this, we did this thing with the Edge over the weekend where one of the questions is, the difference between DJing and DJing specifically for line dancers. Everybody we bring in, and I brought in a bunch, hip-hop DJs, regular DJs, great wedding DJs. You have many challenges when that happens. If you want a great private party DJ who's great on the mic, he does great things, he's booked every Friday and Saturday.
Of course.
That's what we need. Of course. Hip-hop DJs come in, and they're not necessarily, big on the mic. They mix, but they don't understand. They don't understand the effect of, beat mixing off phrase in a line dance and how that can affect the floor. So you basically have to train everybody. And I say this, and I've said it from the day I started. You have to have people that want to immerse themselves, at least to an extent, into the culture. You can't sit on that. When I started back in '93, I came in off the radio with my box of records. Yes, I'm that old. And I played records. And Bobby and Joanne came up repeatedly. You got to count the dances in. You got to tell them what they're dancing. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I went, no, you're out of your mind. I'm the DJ. I play the songs. That's what I do. No, that's not what you do. And over time, I was there a month, and then they tried somebody new. And that guy didn't work out, so they brought me back a month after that. And I went, okay, so maybe I should listen and try and, at the time, I was a younger kid, DJing country, but I was a rock and roll guy. I was a heavy metal guy. This is what I was doing for a living. So I didn't want to listen to anybody. What does he know? I'm the DJ. I'm the guy. Well, no. I'm the guy who needs to now learn how to make the people in front of me happy. And that process not only changed my DJing for country and line dance, but changed how I approached private parties, how I approached radio, how I approached everything. So I learned to count dances. I learned what songs went to what beats went to specific dances, how to mix between couples and line dancers. There at the time, we would do line dance sets and then mix in two-step and cha-cha, and much like we do now at the Roundup, except it wasn't as formatted. When I got to the Roundup, there was an established format, and there were things that the Roundup does that we've since tweaked a little, but I would just go based on my gut when I started. I would go 25, 30 minutes, 5, 6, 8 songs.
Right.
And just go, and then, okay, the floor's petering out, let's change the couples. I legitimately had a guy who came every Friday for 3 years. And every Friday night for 3 years, at one point in the night, he would come up. The DJ booth at Vincent's was on the second floor. He would come up the flight of stairs, and I would, every night, are you going to play two-step? Every night he would do that. Now, at first, it was annoying. But I got to the point where if I know he's coming up, then I know that I've probably gone too long. And that's part of learning to listen to the people and watch and pay attention to what's going on in the crowd. The biggest key, you got to pay attention to people. You got to pay attention to the room. It's so easy now for DJs to go push the button and turn their back and do 100 other things. Back when I started, you pushed the button and you still had to go find the next song, physically pull the next song, physically cue up the next song, physically. So the 3-minute song for 2.5 minutes, you were still doing stuff. So you were still dialed to the room. Now you push a button, click your mouse, turn away, and you can be talking for the next 2.5 minutes to somebody else in the room with your back to the room.
Now, I know the one thing that you guys do, and I don't know how often you still do it, because obviously it's been a while since I've been to the Roundup with this whole quarantine. But I know back in the day you had Kenny, and I've seen Nacho do it, where you have not only a DJ, but you have an MC on the floor.
Yeah.
Walking around. How much has that helped, and would you recommend other bars going to that?
I think it's, in the case of our bar, it's almost necessary.
I would agree, considering your DJ booth is so far up in the corner.
The MC is the guy on the floor. I mean, I don't think, and I will say this till I drop, I don't think I've ever seen a better MC than Kenny when he's on.
I have 100% agree with that. He was phenomenal.
He went out and he would do things. You'd have people sitting in the rails that never been to a country bar, never seen a line dance, never done anything. And he would still find a way to walk up to them or to relate to them and bring them on the floor, even if they never got out of their chair.
Yep.
He would continue. He would be a presence to involve everybody in the room. And it got to the point where if he needed, we would teach one. He would stop and we would take a quick teach and get everybody on the floor. And he was just masterful at keeping people entertained, whether they were on the dance floor or not. And that, I think, is a very big part of the long-term success of the Roundup and what we do now. Doug right now gets on the floor. He dances. He hypes. He's the hype guy for the Florida Panthers hockey team. He's worked with the Dolphins. It's just there's an energy that they bring that helps you just keep going. And I can see it. If I'm just DJing alone in the DJ booth, it's great, and I can do a lot of it, but I'm not on the floor. You can't see me. You can't interact with me unless you walk all the way up to the DJ booth.
Right.
So no matter how many times I crack jokes, no matter how many times I point you out in the crowd, no matter how many times I make a comment, it's great. It works to an extent, but you're not right there.
Right.
You're not accessible. So I think having an MC is a luxury we have because we've had really good ones. Nacho is a good MC. Doug is a great MC. Kenny, like I said, the best I've ever seen. And we're blessed down here to have that. And I think it's a key. May not work every other place, but it works in South Florida.
Absolutely. So anybody who follows you on Facebook or Instagram knows you've got to meet a lot of famous people between your times with radio, all the concerts at Roundup. Who's been your favorite one so far?
I've been lucky. I think as far as country goes, I can't think of more than 3 or 4 people that I've ever wanted to meet that I haven't. And, it's been a crazy long ride, but I think the coolest one I ever did has to be meeting Garth. When I was on the radio back in, I want to say 96, maybe 95 or 96, he played a Halloween show in Providence. And one of the things that we did was he gave tickets to the radio station, and every radio station got to bring one lucky listener, backstage to meet Garth. Now, the tour before that, my boss, the program director, of course, went to meet Garth.
Of course.
And did it. To Mike Casey's credit, and a gift that I can't possibly repay him, the next time it came around, he walked up and said, "You have to do this. I'm not doing it. You're doing it. You have to do it because you have to experience this. It's amazing." So I did. Caveat to that story, it so happens the contest winner that I took was a girl who sat in front of me most of my way through high school. So I took her and her friend from high school and me and my wife at the time, and we got to go to Providence, and we met Garth Brooks, and it was the most amazing backstage experience ever. He blocked out, a lot of times if you go backstage, they'll line you up, and then they'll run them by you one at a time. "Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Photo. Hi, how are you? How are you? Photo. Autograph. Thanks for coming in." No, that's not how he did it. And I'm pretty sure that's not how he does it today. He blocks out 20 minutes, or at the time, he blocked out 20 minutes. He had a buffet. He walked to the door, greeted us. When we were standing outside the door, the previous one of the other radio station winners came out and literally about passed out as she walked out. And then he invited us in, and he is probably, him and Rob Glover are probably the 2 most polite people I have ever met in my life. He knew all of our names in the first 30 seconds, which is an art I wish I could do. He walked in, he sat down, and he went with the listeners, and he literally talked to those 2 girls for 10 minutes about what they did, who they were, why they are. I see you bought a jacket. He made somebody go get the money back for the jacket that one of the girls bought. He made me a ham sandwich, which was very bizarre. Like, "You want a sandwich? Sure. You're going to talk to the girls? I'll go make myself. No, I'll get it." And he walked over and made me a ham sandwich. Just the most bizarre, polite. It's a level I couldn't achieve. And still, at the end, he asked me if we wanted anything signed, and I, of course, had a list of about 40 people that had said, "Oh, can you get me something signed?" And he literally sat there and hand signed 40 pictures.
Oh man.
3 or 4 extras that were blank. He had them bring us shirts. It was just an amazing experience from a guy who, at that stage in his career, was on top of the world, didn't need to do any of that.
Yeah.
I remember meeting a band, one of my mom's heroes, a band that I've probably got me into country. The first 2 times I was backstage with them, it was a big spread, a buffet, it was a party, it was great. Every subsequent time, the 3 or 4 others, it was line them up against the wall and just they're signing, going down the wall. So, for him to do that at what was the time, the height of his, it was just crazy. I think he was great. Craig Morgan has been at the Roundup probably 4 times in the course of where I've been. Mm-hmm. The GM, the entertainment manager, the guy in the liaison. So he's almost beyond just a guy who comes into play. Him and his crew have been the same since the first show. So most of them are considered fairly good friends of mine. I can't say a bad thing about anybody. Luke, Aldine, Kane Brown was a great kid.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's just the people, and even, like I said, I got to do radio, which was great fun. I got to produce a show with Boston legend Johnny Most, who was the voice of the Celtics through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I got to produce a show with him, which was amazing. And through that, I got to meet Bobby Orr, Dick Rapp with the Red Sox Hall of Fame, or Bill Lee, who was my favorite Red Sox player ever. And so many people through that. And then, you go through country dancing. I met every country dance professional that I could think of that I ever wanted to. And then, once I got to the Roundup, we got lucky that most of the top tier talent that's out there now, like I said, Aldine, Florida Georgia Line, Luke, Chris Young, Keith Urban. Was the first time I was ever in the Roundup was to see Keith Urban.
Huh.
Before I moved. They all went through the club. So I, as the guy who was in charge of the entertainment part of it, I was the guy I got to meet most everybody that is big now that I can think of. It's been amazing. Very lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Obviously, you mentioned you competed in line dance, competed UCWDC. Do you think that being a former competitor and you DJ'd at events has helped with the transition of the amount of line dancing from events coming into clubs these days?
I think it's very much 2 separate worlds. I think. I think line dance, like I said, you have the core group. You have the people that want to line dance, the line dancers, and then you have the people that just want to come to the club.
Right.
I think it's 2 different worlds. What I see now happening a lot more is there's a lot more mingling. There was a time when I got into it where it was the UCWDC made a concerted effort to pull line dancers out of the clubs into the events. And now I think it's kind of a more even mix. I think there's a lot of club dancers that I know that have gone to events recently. Yep. And go, holy cow, I had no idea any of this happened. And I tell people today that they're at the club, oh yeah, they have these events where you go to a hotel, and I would back in the day literally DJ and dance from Thursday night at 6 o'clock until Sunday at 6 o'clock, 24/7, 4 days a week.
Yep.
And they go, no way, no, that's not, and that's what happens.
Yep.
I think now there's a much better balance of the crossing. I think the people that want to dance, the people that are intrigued by line dance, that want to progress, find dance events, because there's a lot more events now for line dancers than there was when I started. When I started, it was predominantly couples,
right? And
there was the line dance. That was it.
Yep.
Very much, the backstory behind the line dance showdown was Jason saying, I want to do an all line dance event. That's what we want to do, because that's not being done. Now there are line dance events all over the country, all over the world. And I think people in the club, if they get exposed to that, the people that really are into dance will go and find it. And I think the people that are in the circuit, that are into the harder line dances that do it, they'll come to the club. They'll do the dances that we do at the club. And in our case, we try to, like I said, Wes comes in, Wes Smith, and he teaches a lot of the dances. We have Rona come in. We've had John Robinson in.
Yep.
Trevor's been in. We try to give some flavor of, yes, we're the Roundup. We line dance, we couples dance, we do all of this. But if you're outside of the Roundup, there's a great, big, wonderful world out there of line dance too.
So true.
And it's so many different styles of music. It's so big. A lot of people that just come to the bar don't have an understanding of how big it really is. And then I show them pictures of England, Europe, Asia, and jaws drop a lot of times at how big it actually is. It's crazy.
So is there anything you'd want to change about the way things are done at the Roundup that you've seen done at other bars through your visits that you haven't already tried to change?
I try to learn something every day. We try to tweak something every day. The only thing I would want to change that you really can't, because it's been happening ever since I started, and it happens at every country bar, and I don't know how to fix it. It's one of those things you don't know how to fix. Is people that come into the bar that don't line dance get barricaded and pushed off the floor by people who are into it. And you have to find a way to do it, a mix. Everybody was a beginner. Everybody has that first time. I was literally dragged down a flight of stairs to the dance floor to learn my first dance. Everybody has that beginner moment. Sure, it's great. A year later, you're a superstar. You're wonderful. You're fabulous. But you can't just turn to the person next to you who's standing there looking at you, trying to pick up your feet and go, get away from me. Sure, there's a point where it's annoying because you're trying to do your thing, I get that. But there has to be some way to make that better. And I think that's the one continuous thing that we're always trying to fix. And I can't speak for every other bar, but I have to think that that's a continuing problem everywhere. Because I can remember at Vincent's in 1995, they had a wedding ballrooms up over our heads, and they would let weddings in at midnight, and they would flood the floor, and you'd have people, the line dancers would throw up their hands and scream and holler, and we'd get screamed and hollered at. But there has to be a nice way to make it happen for somebody. That's where I think Kenny was great. I think Doug is great, because he'll go over and nicely, if hey, jumping right in the middle of this pile is not the best way to learn this dance.
Right. Because
have people 360 doing 100 different things, and you're going to be standing still and not knowing where they're going to move. So yeah, that's the biggest thing, is just trying to promote tolerance between all levels of dance. The line dancers know, generally speaking, what direction they're going in. True. Going to go. The people that don't know,
they definitely don't know.
And there's, there has to be a continued effort to be nice about, hey, this is not great to jump into the middle of this.
Right.
On the outside, it's easier to learn from the outside, where you're less likely to get bumped into. If they're not line dancing on all four sides of you, you're going to be able to focus and try to pick it up and try.
Right.
And my theory is if they're trying, let them try.
Yeah.
Be tolerant. If they're an idiot, if they're just out there jumping around, and this happens all the time, flailing, moonwalking. You see people trying to do the worm in the middle of a line dance.
Alcohol and shots will do that to a guy.
Then they're just trying to be disruptive and go against the flow. And then you have to be a little more like, look, come on, dude.
Don't be, yeah. Don't be.
Don't be the one guy who ruins it for 50 other people. Let's get along.
Right.
That's the struggle. That's the one thing that is a constant tweak to every bar.
So, Big Jim asks, is there anything that you've seen successful at other bars and can't figure out why it doesn't work at the Roundup?
Pattern partner couple dances.
Well, I don't know. You guys do.
We do one. We do the alpaca and recent and the 16. So there's two. When I left Boston, we did probably 6 or 7 of them. I know at the barn in Rhode Island, the Mishnach Barn, they do a bunch.
There's there's events that I go to that they still teach it often. Myrtle Beach, we do it. Fort Wayne Dance for All does it. They still have
north of us, and pretty much every other country bar I've ever seen. At Renegades, they do it up north. When I was there, when I was in Chicago, I saw them doing it. The Schottish.
It's funny you say that though, because if you go to Central Florida, none. Up in Orlando, nothing. None at all. The barn, Cowboys, 8 Seconds didn't do it.
So that's the one thing that I see outside of my world right now. I understand it takes a little more time to teach, maybe. If there's a comfort level, people at the barn dance. Everybody, why don't we do the barn dance? Well, we do. But to do it and have it not become a complete disaster. Ooh. 50% of the crowd not having a clue other than the 5 shots that they've had.
Yeah,
you have to give them some guidelines and some instruction. Which again, the MCs, we're lucky to have MCs,
right? And
we can do that. But to just drop the Wild Wild West in the middle of the club, even back in the day up north, it was. We're going to do the Wild Wild West. Everybody grab a part, and you would loop it and talk until there was some semblance, the dance instructor helped to get people in the spot. Contra dances, same thing in a club. Yeah. Great at events, not so much at a club because it requires so much time to set up.
Right. Jim, it was a 16-step and El Paso, he said, are the two they do.
And they call it Redneck Stomp.
Yeah.
I've heard it. Rebel Stomp or the 16-step. They did it up north to Sinwag before I left.
So, I know you're a huge wrestling fan. If you weren't the GM of Roundup, what would you prefer your job to be? A programmer for WWE or the road manager for Rush?
It's an easy answer now because Rush is retired.
Let's go back 10 years ago when Rush wasn't.
But yeah, no, that would be the dream job. Would have been.
Yep.
I have a weird story. I actually met the road manager from Rush at. He was doing front of house sound for Little Big Town. When we had Little Big Town at the club. The club was packed. I found out about, 8 o'clock that night after he had gotten into a disagreement with the owner over something. I found out from one of the other guys in the tour, oh yeah, he's leaving us anyway in a month. Don't worry about it. He's leaving us to go he's going to go road manage Rush. And my heart dropped. Because I'm like, it's just terrible. They're like, oh, don't worry. He's fine. He'll be fine. Great. And he was a great guy to me. He just had a disagreement with the owner of the club at the time, and there went my Rush connection right out the window. Just one of the things. You never knew. You never know who somebody is. You know who they are. But yeah, the road would have been better of the two.
Yeah. Dean did ask, if you could throw a birthday party for any professional wrestler, who would it be and why would it be Ric Flair?
It would be Ric Flair because everybody would come. Everybody else that I would want to meet or see or talk, hang out with,
right,
would be
would want to come to Ric Flair's birthday party.
And it would be a wild styling, profiling, limousine riding, jet plane flying party.
Don't
Rolex
forget,
wearing. I'd have to go buy a Rolex. That's about it.
don't forget now it'd be a Walker, Walker walking because he would probably need one. Oh, man.
That would be a fun part. That would be a great party. Joke every time we went in to do virtual roundup because we'd have ladders all around the outside of the dance floor that people wouldn't see because we were doing renovations here or construction there. We were trying to remodel while we were down. And the first day is, it's going to be tables, ladders, and chairs night here at the roundup.
There you go. That would be that would be interesting. You should contact someone, have a huge wrestling night at the roundup, see how much stuff gets broken.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be fun.
It would be. It would be an awesome time.
It would be Flair.
Do what?
I wouldn't mind hosting a Chris Jericho birthday party either.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would probably be the second one.
For much the same reason, there would be so many rock star friends of his and wrestlers that I would want to meet. The same crew would show up.
Absolutely. We could try have a real debate on who is the better faction, the Four Horsemen or D-Generation X. It'd be fun. It'd be fun. So, any advice you would give to anybody who wants to get into DJing at a country bar? Besides, don't do it.
Embrace the culture. If you're going to do it, I tell our bartenders now to do it. I tell everybody, it's a culture. If you're gonna DJ at the roundup, be a DJ at the roundup. Embrace the line dancing. Don't fight it. Don't come in going, your way is going to be better. Change is good, and we can adapt everything. But you can't walk in. I've had several DJs come in and go, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and I want to do this. I'm going to change this and do that. And I go, okay. And when it doesn't work, I go, now you're ready to be a roundup DJ now. I remember when I first got to the roundup, I was very much the same way. I came in. I've done this a million times. I know how to do this. This is no problem. I'm the biggest guy in New England. One of the two biggest line dance DJs, country DJs to come out of New England. And about a month in, Kenny said the best thing to me. She's like, there's just a way that we do things here, the way that things get done. We'll let everybody try it. Do it your way. And we'll see what happens. And at the end of the day, it just, for some reason, it works at the roundup. We've tweaked it. Everybody that comes in, we add little things. We take pieces of what they bring in. Bring yourself in. Do you, but do it in the context of being a roundup, being in the culture of the roundup. Bring your personality, bring your song, bring your music, bring your beat mixing, bring what you bring. But now let's adapt it to the general culture that works at the club. If you don't know how to do couples dances, learn. Take some time and learn what's a good two-step speed, what works good, what's a good cha-cha speed, what's a good swing.
YouTube.
Learn that West Coast swing is just country, it's pop, it's jazz, it's blues, it's West Coast swing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Learn line dances, figure out what's phrased to a specific song and what you can play with. Embrace the culture. To bartenders, I would say the same thing to bartenders. Don't walk in and stand there. Okay, bring the people. Bring the people. No, make friends with the people. Be a part of the group. Don't just stand on the outside expecting everybody to come to you. People aren't coming in ready to. Embrace the culture. That's the thing I would say to anybody is just embrace it. I couldn't possibly go to the barn, walk in there and say, I'm going to DJ better than the guy that's there. Because I don't know. I have no idea what goes on. That's only happened. I've done that once. When I first moved here, I was asked to go up and work at a place in West Palm Beach that's no longer there. And he literally said, all right, go up and do some stuff. So I played for an hour, and that's how I got hired. But, you know, me walking into the barn, me walking into Dixie Roadhouse on the west coast of Florida, walking into Coyote Joe's up in North Carolina, I'd walk in and I'd go, okay, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. But I don't know any of these people. I don't know what they like. I don't know what they're doing. So embrace the culture. Do some research. Know what's going on where you're going to play.
Absolutely.
You know, I've been lucky enough through events to do a night at the Long Branch back when it was the big thing in Raleigh, Durham after the marathon. Did a stint in a Chicago bar after Windy City one year.
Oh, okay.
Gotten to play a bunch of different places, just one-nighters, because there was a big group of line dancers with us.
Right.
You know, if you're bringing the crowd, that might work. But if you're walking into somebody else's room and you haven't done any research or you have no concept of what the norm is in that room, then it's hard to say you're going to go in there and just blow that room apart.
So true.
So you have to embrace the culture. You have to embrace.
Chris wants to know, how many dancers do you get at the Roundup in a normal evening? Oof, that number's going to be high.
Try that again. I had a blip.
Says,
how do I get what?
Chris wants to know, how many dancers do you get at the Roundup on a normal evening?
Patrons, when I got to the Roundup in its heyday, over 1,000.
About to say, yeah, it was.
Nowadays, you know, on a busy Friday night, there'll be between 750 and 900 people that run through.
Oof.
True hardcore dancers, 100, 150. Then you get into the people that are, it's a hobby, they like it, they come out to the bar to have fun, and then you have obviously the people that just wandered into a country bar because it's something different. You know, we have the luxury where we are to host cruise groups.
Yes.
You know, a lot of the cruise groups, they come down,
do dance cruises and stuff like that. They come in through the Roundup first.
A couple hours, and then they'll go back. So we're lucky like that to bring a lot of different dancers in from a lot of different places. But generally, between 600 and 800 people on a normal night.
Crazy. Jim wants to know, what's your favorite two-step song?
Just to See You Smile by Tim McGraw.
Ooh, he went old school.
It is what it is. Love Ain't by Eli Young Band happens to be my current favorite.
Nice. All right, so I'm going to end the interview with the question I've asked a lot of people, and yes, Trish, I'm going to give it to him because he knows enough line dancers. He gets to answer this. If money was no object,
oh, I've heard this.
I know you have. Where would you hold an event, and who are the first 5 instructors you're inviting? Because I know you know enough.
Well,
we might hear some names that no one's heard of yet.
For me personally, I would want to go someplace cool, just because I don't get to go places that are cool. So, but to host a successful event, it would be, God, I would want to go to England or Europe maybe.
There you go.
Easy. Or, you know, you have to go to a hub down here. Orlando's a good place to have an event. Atlanta's a good place to have an event. New York would be a good place to have an event. They have an event up there that's really good. Any place in California. I have never been to an event west of Las Vegas. So I would love to go to a California event. So maybe something like that. Perfect world, money's no object, Hawaii.
There you go.
But how many people can, you know, fork up the money to go to Hawaii to go to a dance event? And would they pay attention to the dance event at all if they were there?
So true. So
Instructor wise, oh God, I would hire probably Pedro Machado right off the bat. I would hire Brian Barakauskas. Pedro's just an amazing personality to have there. Money were no object. I've been out of touch, so I'm not up to a lot of the newer choreographers, a lot of the newer instructors. I've seen Fred be interviewed a few times. I honestly, and no disrespect meant or intended in any way, I don't know that much about Fred because I've been out of that loop. You know, I'm stuck in my little cage. So if I would go old, it would be John Robinson. It would be Pedro. It would be Brian. More likely than not, Scott Blevins, and probably Joe Thompson or Jamie Marshall, depending on, you know, who's available. But that's a tough question because that's, you know.
Oh, I think with the exception of Brian, you went with a 50 and over route.
Well, I have to go based on what was going on when I was doing it actively. Like I said, Shane McKeever. When I met Shane McKeever, he was a kid.
About to say, he was like
he was following them as a kid. So you know, that's a generational thing. I'm just out of touch with, and out of touch with, you know, what's happening on the event circuit today. I'm sure there are a million personalities that are better. Of the people that I know about today, Darren Bailey would be a great one. Fred would be a great one. Obviously, if I could pull Guyton out of retirement.
Well, money's no object. You might be able to do that.
I'd need to get a boat, a fishing pole, have it somewhere near water. But you know, that's me just being out of the loop for a long period of time.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, John. It was a pleasure getting to chat with you. Jim said Shane's not much taller now. It was awesome getting to chat. Thank you for all the stories and the insight. It was fun.
Appreciate you, man.
Anytime. And I hope everyone out there had a good time, enjoyed it. Tomorrow on the show, I got Tim Perez. He was on Friday's roundtable. UCWDC event director, masters dancer, judge. So that's going to be a fun time. Also, if you're not doing nothing, guys, tomorrow, 10 o'clock Eastern AM, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in Central European time over on the Streamline. I am teaching. I'm teaching my new dance. I'm sorry that I competed back in February and back in March. It goes to a great song by Buck Cherry called Sorry, a little rock nightclub there.
And me not wearing my Buck Cherry t-shirt.
I know, right? So that'll be 10 a.m. on Streamline. So if you guys are up, please come join me for a fun lesson. If not, we'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, guys. Enjoy.